The Niagara Division of the Canadian Railroad Historical Association unveiled a new plaque recently in Welland.
We've unveiled the fourth in our series of plaques related to the Niagara St. Catharines in Toronto, known as the NS&T Electric Railway that linked Port Colborne to Port Dalhousie and also went to Niagara Falls and Niagara-on-the-Lake. Much of the history has disappeared in terms of the buildings, but the right-of-way, as you see behind me here, this trail is built on that right-of-way. And we thought that it was a way of bringing back the history directly to the people so that they would know how what was here before. And the NS&T was such a local transportation agency that allowed people to travel between communities, and as well it was a freight railway so that they would have, it was important for local businesses as well.
The NS&T line served Niagara from 1899 until 1959.
We just felt that there were some areas in Niagara's history that were being ignored or forgotten. You mentioned the NS&T, and most people will look at you with a blank stare like, what's that? Because it disappeared in entirety in 1959, and if you're new to the area, as a lot of people are, or if you weren't born yet, you don't even know what these things were, where they were, or what it was all about. So it's sort of become a forgotten piece of history in some ways.
The NS&T line was formed by the Canadian Northern Railway in 1899.
It was largely between Port Dalhousie and Port Weller and St. Catharines down to Thorold and then over to Niagara Falls. Around 1910 or so, they decided they needed a way to get to Welland and Port Colborne. So this line would have been put in after about 1911. The original reasons for it were twofold. One was for passenger service north and south in the peninsula, and secondly was to get freight traffic north and south as well. When the canal closed in the winter, they had to get grain to Port Colborne. And so there would be grain trains that would come from the west. They would drop the cars off in St. Catharines, and then this electric railway would pick the grain cars up and bring them through here, down this very line that we're standing on, down to Port Colborne. And this was a daily occurrence. There could be sometimes 20 or 30 boxcars filled with grain every day heading through here, and then of course the empty cars would go the other way. Now that was intermixed with the passenger service that was hourly.
The signs have a combination of text and photos and tell a little bit of the story about the NS&T, and it just is a way of kind of whetting people's appetite in terms of information. They can go to our website that you can access directly from the plaque, or they can go to the local library and read the stories about the NS&T and what happens. You know, we really encourage people to find out more about their own local history.
For more information on local railroad history, visit CRHA Niagara.com. In Welland, you're watching The Source.